Hi guys, I hope this video finds you well. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how to use exercise to improve or manage your mood. I think lots of people have heard the general idea, the general statement that regular moderate exercise can really help improve, mood, depression, anxiety, as well as often can help you improve your sleep hygiene and sleep patterns as well. The key here with this, and this has been researched, a great deal, the key here is moderate and regular, consistent. Moderate exercise is going to impact the body different than, say, lower impact exercise like a stroll, an easy walk, things like that. You're not going to get that benefit, that overall sense of improved mood, that overall sense of improved sleep with, mild exercise. You need to push it a little bit, get your heart rate up, do it consistently, as in many times a week, like 3 or 4 times a week, getting your heart rate up for about 30 minutes each, at least for 30 minutes each exercise session. And oftentimes people will find that over time, they start to realize, if I'm consistent with this, I'm sleeping better. I'm not feeling quite as depressed in general, not just right after the exercise, but just in general, or in general feeling a little less anxiety. So we can take this a step further too and talk about how we use exercise in this moment, not in the overall sense, but in this moment to adjust or change or release emotions, improve our mood. The more we figure out how to use tools that are with us or around us all the time to manage our mood, manage our emotions, manage our mental state, the more empowered we feel about being well overall. So, lots of times people will go to things like caffeine for, increased energy. If you're feeling like a slump in energy in the middle of the day or the morning, oftentimes people will choose caffeine, maybe even sugar, in an attempt to increase their level of energy. But oftentimes, the more energy we put out, the more we tend to kind of have recycled back to us. So exercise can be a great, great resource for improving our energy and our focus. There are certain types of exercise that are going to be more beneficial for this, like taking a walk. If we're feeling low in energy and the expectation is we're going to go do some crazy intense CrossFit class, or we're going to go run 10 miles or something really intense, it might be so overwhelming that we don't get ourselves there, or we get a few minutes in and we are still thinking the thoughts of lacking energy and we get stuck there and we just leave it. So meeting ourselves where we're at when we're low in energy or struggling with focus is so important and so kind to ourselves. Meeting ourselves where we're at might be to say, okay, I'm low in energy. I want to cultivate energy within me, so I'm going to go take a nice brisk walk. I'm going to push it. I'm going to take a nice brisk walk. I can handle that. Maybe it's also that I'm going to get on my bike and I'm going to take a bike ride. Doesn't have to be a super intense bike ride, but I'm going to get out there and I'm going to move my body. My legs are going to move. My heart is going to pump. A vinyasa yoga is also very helpful here. And oftentimes we can wrap our head around that because sometimes we think yoga is easy, although it's not always. Could be an easier hike if that speaks to you. Could even mean getting on the floor and doing some more intense stretching, taking the time to really get in there and feel into our bodies. The movement is just one piece of the equation here to change from feeling one way to another. We also have to pair the movement that's creating the state change with thoughts that are going to create the state change. So thoughts that we would really want to be connected with while we're taking our brisk walk or we're, doing our yoga or something like that is thinking the thoughts, I am waking up. My energy is increasing as the blood starts to pump through. As I breathe the fresh air, I'm breathing in energy. Those kinds of things are going to help us pair movement and thought in order to go from the state of feeling, lacking energy, feeling tired, to feeling energized, feeling refocused, feeling invigorated and recharged. Sometimes we have too much energy, and we can use exercise to discharge that energy. As adults, it may seem like a rare occasion that we have too much energy, but we do see this with kids, right? If you work with kids, if you have kids, oftentimes the energy can get so big that it's like, okay, we got to go outside and we got to run around and discharge some of that energy. I think that what happens with adults is that the too much energy looks different on us. And oftentimes the too much energy looks like anxiety, or looks like stress, or looks like worry. We often take it and metabolize that too much energy that way. So it happens for sure. And when we've got too much energy and it's showing up as anxiety, it's showing up as stress, some great exercises are going to be those that are going to get our heart pumping a little bit more than the ones we just spoke about. So if we're comfortable with it, instead of walking, maybe we're going to run. Maybe we're going to run, maybe we're going to jog, maybe we're going to go lift some weights and really push it hard. Maybe we're going to do more of like a power yoga, where we're going to ask a little bit more of our bodies to perform athletically. It might also be a more rigorous bike ride, or that hiking trail that really has some steeps in it and gets your heart pounding and things like that. These are great ways to discharge the energy. But again, we want to pair thoughts with those movements, with that physical activity that's going to help with the process. So the thoughts that we might want to be thinking about are, thinking about, as I go through this, as my feet are pounding on the ground, as my legs are cranking along the bike, I am letting it go, letting this energy go, letting this anxiety go. You can almost create a visualization about it. And then also pair that with a projection for the future, because when we visualize or project the future, we can create the outcome much more successfully than if we don't. So project into the future, like, oh, it's going to feel so good to be calm. It's going to feel so good to feel peaceful at the end of this run, at the end of this, weightlifting routine, things like that. So pairing those thoughts and a little bit of a visualizing and imagining how good it's going to feel to be calm and at peace at the end of this. Somewhat closely related to, expending that energy is also figuring out how to use exercise to get rid of feelings of anger and fear. And the feelings of anger and fear are very close cousins. They often kind of poke at each other, and they're often joined a little bit. So I'm going to kind of group those together. Oftentimes fear creates a defense mechanism that we call anger. So they're often closely related. But when we're in fear or when we're in anger, some great things to go to, again, are weightlifting. And here, this is a place to be, kind of like pushing your weightlifting or your strength training to a place where it's about as taxing as you can get it. By the time you finish that last rep, you couldn't have done another rep. Another great exercise for this is boxing, which is awesome workout, great exercise. Some people might find that they can use running for this as well. If they're pushing it hard, this might be a day that you run some hills, or same thing on a bike. This might be a day that you go crush some hills and really push it hard. It's really important with this one to be mindful about what thoughts you are bringing into your intention here. Some people can hit a bag, can hit a boxing bag and feel still more angry at the end. The reason for that is if every time you're hitting the bag or lifting the weight, if you're thinking more and more about the anger source or the fear source, then you're actually just generating more of that energy. So instead, I want to suggest every time your hand hits the heavy bag, every time you lift that weight, every time your foot pounds the ground, you think about letting go. Think about letting go of the anger. Think about letting go of the fear. And that's going to help you release it and move on and move forward, so that when this workout is over, you can feel at peace and have yourself recentered. So knowing that that's your intention, not getting stuck in the intention of, I'm going to go hit this heavy bag and think of that person's face or something like that, because that's likely to just generate more anger for you. Okay, so very important how we pair the movement with the thoughts in this one. So the last thing I want to touch on here is how we can use exercise to overcome self-doubt and create a sense of accomplishment. For me personally, this has been immensely important for me in my life in a lot of ways. When we do something challenging, something that maybe we look at and we go, not really sure if I can pull that off. I'm not really sure if I can lift that much weight. I'm not really sure if I can run that far. I'm not really sure if I can complete that whole workout, whatever it is. If we are looking at something and we've got a little bit of a question about whether we're physically capable of doing it, that's the one to do here. Because how we create a new sense of, or reconnect to our sense of self-confidence, is actually to do something challenging and then to afterwards celebrate the success. So we want to do something challenging, something that we're going to fight through, we're going to connect with our own grit, and we're going to remind ourselves that we are capable, more capable than we sometimes imagine. We're more capable than we sometimes picture ourselves in our heads. One of my very, very favorite things that ever happens when I'm working with clients physically is when I show them, okay, we're going to go do this, and they look at me and they're like, no way, I can't do that. And then with a little bit of encouragement, I push them, they do it successfully, and all of a sudden what just happened was they just learned that they are more capable than they imagined. And that new concept of self, even though we might have been talking about, I don't know, a high box jump or something, that new sense of self-confidence is going to have a little bit of a ripple effect all across the board, right? Because if I didn't think I could jump the 24-inch box and then I just proved it to myself that I can, well, then maybe I wasn't thinking that I could get that job or I could take that class, but maybe I am capable of more than I thought, and I ought to at least try, right? So pairing the thoughts here is also really important, right? So while you're in the workout, while you're attempting to accomplish a certain goal that's challenging, you want to be thinking about your grit. You want to be thinking about how you are capable of doing hard things, how you're not afraid to try challenging things, how you've done challenging things in the past and you've been successful. And then when you finish and you do the challenging thing and you overcome and you have a sense of success, that's the time to then reflect. Reflect and celebrate, okay? Reflect and celebrate and really take it into the fabric of yourself that you were brave enough to put yourself in front of a challenge, you were brave enough to get through the work involved in completing that challenge, and now it's time to celebrate and say, yes, I did it. And that increases our sense of self-confidence overall. It's a great practice to get into. So I hope that these give you some specific ways that you can wrap your head around or imagine how to use exercise, not just as a tool for physical gain. You know, we often talk about a training program to get stronger, a training program to get faster, or whatever you want to achieve. But we can use movement, we can use exercise to achieve a new mental state as well, and it can happen very quickly for us. It's a great way to maintain and feel in control of our mood too. So sometimes we have a plan of how we should be working out, but it can also be good to take stock in how we're feeling mentally and emotionally and maybe make adjustments and make sure that our exercise is complementing that aspect of our life too. All right, that's all I got for you today. I hope that you all are having a wonderful day and get out there and move and enjoy your body and have fun with it and play and look for those things that feed your soul and feel good to you when you're moving and exercising. That really is the most important part. Okay, bye-bye.